when their guy plays some games. Alright, hi everybody, Weather Guy here. We're now getting into case number 3 for The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover.
There always is.
His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back.
It's always a knife.
Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Okay. Some lady got stabbed in the street. We're also, worth noting, we've done 3 cases so far. And in 2 of them, the killer has seemingly gotten away, with the British girl in the first one, and now Mr. McGilded in the previous one. So I'm very curious if those characters are going to show up again in some way. And I feel like they might. You can't just let the bad guys get away, you know? So we'll see what happens. Hope y'all are doing great, by the way. I'm feeling pretty good. I just had some Chick-fil-A. I'm feeling solid. Yeah, let's get into it. We're at the Lord Chief Justice's office. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Ryu? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Burya, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. Oh my god, Ryu, what kind of crazy person does that? In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. That's something that's always very interesting when you think about what a normal wage in like America, for example, could get you in a very less fortunate country, right? It's really weird to think about, you know? But, yeah, anyway. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning. Oh. This is this guy. I don't remember his voice exactly. I think it was pretty grand. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Sato's amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Ryu performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh, no longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. With the doves. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern island. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer now. That was easy. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? Mr. McGilda definitely did it. He had an evil laugh and everything. The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, jury will not be required. Blah, 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 blah. We went through this last time. Can't believe he got away with it. When's the evil laugh coming? Oh, there it is. Oh. Look how evil that is. Who does the clap laughing? Who does the clap laughing? No one actually does that in real life. Just can't help wondering, Mr. McGilda really was innocent. Mr. Ryu, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away. Oh, that is correct. Remember? Oh my god. Remember that the frickin' carriage was set on fire. And I guess Mr. McGilded was the one inside, but I wonder if that was faked. I don't know. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Doves. I love all the clockwork stuff in here. It's so sick. It's like we're inside Big Ben. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Alright. We'll talk then. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilda had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. Bailiff really needs to pay more attention. So, just the police identifying the corpse doesn't necessarily mean that it's McGilded. Because they could have been bought off, right? Mr. McGilded made a point during his trial to say that he basically pays for all of their salaries with his tax dollars. So I don't know. I think he easily could have, he had the money to make something happen. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I don't have to do his voice anymore. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. This speaks more of Mr. McGilded trying to fake his death as him saying that he'll go back to the carriage when there was never a plan for that. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. Alright. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was, wow. Mr. Rios means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? He knows shit's rigged, I think. No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he gonna say before? Let's hear the new case. About the girl that was stabbed in the street. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder, and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died as yet. Interesting. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Huh. So the trial's tomorrow then. Man, these back-to-back trials are brutal. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Ryu! I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Miss McGilda's trial. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh, if the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not to remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. like the San Andreas meme. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Ryu. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Zuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Huh? Another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me. Something very important that I have to do. Something very important, and what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for enlightening discussion. Mr. Ryu, what's all this about? Mr. Sogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? Oh, is that our Watson over there? So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. Is it time to see Herlock again? Maybe. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. Perfect. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. So those French fries? Could we trouble you? Oh man, what's his voice gonna be like? What should his voice be like? I can't decide. Should I just give him the most normal voice in the world? I'll do that. I'll give him a very boring voice. It'll be great. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Ah! Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Ah! Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eating out your hand, you know. Ah, but Sasato told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. Don't need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryu, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Ryu's judicial assistant, too. Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable! How did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. Name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Sasato? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Let's talk to him. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Mrs. Sato, but he's a London detective. I bet he's in Herlock Sholmes stories. Oh, I do know him very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rants the Magazine? That's right, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful, friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is... Oh man, I'm getting stuffy. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's all over London now. It's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little well flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. Alright, he seems cool. I like Inspector Gregson. No nonsense. So I'm about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means... As far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. Wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. The young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? This poor woman's definitely going to show up in the hospital, or in the trial, mid-trial, you know? It's going to emerge with a cast on or some shit. It's going to be great. Suppose you would have finished whoever was off with a societal takedown, wouldn't you? Would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Ryu. Brace yourself, Ryu. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak von Zeeks. No, not again. Sounds like you've heard of him then. Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. Reaper of the Bailey. Alright, let's hear more about him. Lord Barak Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGildas told us about him before the trial, didn't he? Yeah. He's pretty sick. I really like Van Zeeks, dude. Look at him go. The power. He is unstoppable. I love him. And he's like an antagonistic force too that isn't exactly evil, you know? I think that's really interesting. I like it a lot. It's different than the prosecutor from the first case who just delighted in our misery, you know? It's Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty. Is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Ryu secured a verdict of not guilty. And what of it? Oh, well, I think... That means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the inn, eh? He's dead. Ah! Magnus McGildy came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you've saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. That's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Interesting. Interesting. Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You branded him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in the cell he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. Alright, let's go meet him. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Ryu? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. But the man they've arrested is innocent. You could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in a cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try. So I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes! Let's go! Hell yeah. Let's do it, dude. So we moving now? We're going to go to Old Bailey Road? Briar Road? Ooh, we get to choose. I think I want to talk to the prisoner first. And then go... Then we'll probably actually end it today. Because I'm going to have to end a little early with how I'm feeling. I'm sorry. I wonder if it's Herlock Sholmes. But I feel like he wouldn't be shaking. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Ryu. You're making it seem worse. Apparently our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop eyeing at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me by a number, it's utterly unbelievably unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Ryu, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Japanese man? I don't recognize him. Excuse me, but who... Shh, quiet! He's nervous. He's nervous. They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. He is sweating. Look at that bead of sweat. Right, so could I ask you who exactly... There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it, you're a ghost! Ghost? This guy is a mess. I think he's spooked by whatever he saw that night that actually killed the victim. You mean you no harm, prisoner? Are you... Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams! Oh boy. Calm down, buddy. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. Dude, what in the Ginyu Force stuff was that? What in the Power Ranger pose was that maneuver? He was all over the place. What in the Johnny Bravo? Oh man. Who could have guessed that this new client was Strongheart assigned to us turned out to be fellow Japanese? Ah, what compassion my fellow countrymen show! To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing, Nippon! A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can, I will! Say, sullen, and silent! I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryu. And I am Ryu's assistant, Sato. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notoriously named Natsume. Sasaki Natsume. This guy's hilarious. Sasaki Natsume? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. Nom de plume? You mean an alias? Oh, he's a writer with an alias. That's interesting. That's right, Ryu. No, don't be so prosaic. I'm much more refined than that. And haiku, that really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this! It's beyond the pale! Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But, just because the government tells you to do something, does it mean you can do it? No. What do you mean? They told me to study English literature. That I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, so I'm often told. I often like to be told, it seems. Alright, let's hear. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Saseki? I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder! Murder? Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife! Right before my eyes! Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. Huh? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. This also reminds me of Jackie Childs from Seinfeld. He's like, it's ludicrous, outrageous. Dude, Jackie Childs is hilarious too. Saseki was there at the scene, but you didn't see the attacker? It's vital that we find out more about the case. Alright. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible! Oh, she said that. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. This guy's great. I love this guy. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Saseki, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people! I see. Young woman, unknown to Saseki. At the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Who could have done it? Who could have done it? I don't know. What do you mean, Sasato? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Saseki has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. And he apparently fled without having been seen. Oh, yeah, the question is, how is he connected? How did they connect him to the murder? If no one saw him either. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. You? What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Saseki actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. I caught this right away. I'm so good. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Oh, Herlock Sholmes, yes. Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective. Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, begone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Herlock Sholmes! I knew it. Hell yeah. Mr. Sholmes? Let's go! We're doing so good. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me. This is the police. Put the weapon down. Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting. Dietary discrimination. Devils. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes! It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me, this weak, stooped kitten of a man. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. You mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me. It's impossible English. Fiendish foreign film flammery. Oh, this also reminds me of Mr. Crocker on Fairly Odd Parents when he's like, Fairly Odd Parents. It's great. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles. And before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. Fine, he's not fine now. Mr. Ryu Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Mr. Ryu. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I've defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to be believing. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Ryu. Not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, what do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Sasaki. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before. A mere shot. Without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And, of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong! I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. It's okay, it's just that... We're gonna do it, we gotta do it. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can, for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Locum student Mr. Ryu, Esquire. We should be going then, Mr. Ryu. We have a case to prepare for. Alright. Let's go back here. Can we pause it? Can we pause it? Can we pause it? Yes. This is where we're stopping today. Next time, we're gonna stop at the scene. We're gonna investigate the scene of the crime. I really enjoyed meeting our victim. He's pretty funny. I really enjoyed Mr. Gregson. He's very chill. And yeah, I'm interested. We have another one of these cases where we don't have no idea who the perpetrator is. So I'm curious if we'll get a more definitive end this time. I sure hope so. But yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you're having a great holiday season. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of others. And I will see you next time. Peace out.